Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought I'd do a quick video talking about a funny picture on the Reddit that's turned up. And this is a picture of the Type 95R Go at a Japanese convention at the Gaijin War Thunder booth. And as you can see, it has a bunch of body pillows on it because it's Japan. And I wanted to use this video to talk about a bit of a history of War Thunder and Japan, and also just conventions in general. If you don't know, Gaijin has done a bunch of conventions over the years. They used to do Gamescom quite a lot, and it was kind of used as a way of advertising new features in the game. I remember we had the New Era update, which added stuff like the T-64A that was kind of announced at Gamescom, and then also you had helicopters and the naval stuff being added. It was really cool, but they stopped doing it, and I think if I remember, a Gaijin guy basically said it just wasn't really worth the promotion anymore because the game was already well known. Stuff like Gamescom and things like that are better for setups where you already, you don't know the game, so it's a way of getting it promoted and out there. And obviously, War Thunder, it's one of the largest games in the world and has been for nearly a decade now, so just never was really needed. But in the past, Gaijin have done many different conventions and also many different things when it comes to Japan. So I thought we'd go through a little history of some of the things that had happened. By the way, at Gamescom and stuff like that, they had booth babes. They had quite a lot of like old ideas. There used to actually be a Russian kind of video stream which Gaijin hired at some point to actually do news readings, and it was basically just like a hot Russian lady. And I can't find the videos of it, but I need to find it in general. All of this stuff will become relevant of what we're going into because people are focusing on the fact that, oh my God, body pillows on a tank, isn't that crazy? Japan, the way that they advertise stuff is very different compared to the rest of the world. And I'll kind of show you how. So, first of all, I wanted to actually show you a vehicle which is in the game, which is one of the rarest, if not the rarest, in terms of War Thunder. And it was also a promotion for Japan, which they didn't promote very well. The Chiha Kai TD. This one is a complete copy of the standard Chiha Kai, but it does have, of course, the Twitch camouflage. Now, this vehicle was available in a tournament or an esports event that they ran, and guess what? It just did not. They just did not advertise it at all. Only on DMM like the day before, and you needed to watch like 2 or 3 hours of the stream and claim it within the stream, or it was gone forever. And the stream only lasted like maybe 3 or 4 hours. They cut it way short because the tournament itself finished early. So in order to get this, it was actually really, really hard to do. So this is one of the rarest vehicles in the game because of kind of a fudged promotion. But also, Gaijin themselves, over the years, as you can see here, with Kirill or Anton Yudintsev. I'm not entirely sure which one it is. I'll just make it so it's a little bit better. So when it comes to Kirill or Anton, if you don't know, they are twins, and they basically run War Thunder. So you have a situation where you have one guy who's like the CEO, the other guy who's kind of like the CCO or the creative director setup. And they used to be way more public facing than they were. They used to do a lot of interviews, and they used to, kind of talk to the community, even sometimes like going on the Reddit, right? And this was cool. But also at the same time, once you become the owner of like a multi-million going into billion-dollar company, you don't do stuff like that anymore because you have other things to do, So the last time we heard from Kirill specifically was a Q&A that they did, and it was disastrous. It just didn't go very well because he tried to explain some things because they're from Russia originally, and they do know English pretty well. But the problem is the way that Russians explain things is not the way that generally you explain stuff in English. So if you say stuff like people want to grind, we need to make sure there is a grind there. That's never going to be something that if you say to an English population, they're going to get annoyed because you're basically going, why do you want us to be like slaves to things, right? Where the way to put it is like there has to be a challenge in the game, but also it has to be, balanced towards fun. Like that's how you're supposed to talk about it. But yeah, it just didn't go very well. And it was pretty rough. That was the last time I think publicly we've seen either of them. And you can see here, this is at a Japanese convention for DMM Games, which is the guys who run War Thunder in Japan, by the way. And this is one of them wearing a Che Guevara shirt with Viva la Revolucion on it, and also the Gaijin Snail on the beret. So War Thunder and Gaijin have a lot of this like custom merch that like I don't think ever has been out in the public. They're just like worn by their guys, and it's just really funny. And you can see here is some pictures that were taken, and it was basically like a Q&A session, right? So this was a long time ago, by the way. This was one of the older conventions, and this is when they were, asking a bunch of stuff about how do they do things and what is the completion form of War Thunder. So like what does War Thunder eventually look like? And it's kind of an interesting interview, but you can kind of guess what they're going to say, right? So is there a revival of Godzilla? Maybe in the future. We do enjoy doing April Fool's events. It's really fun and enjoyable to see how the community reacts. When will you implement Levi? Oh, coming soon. And don't worry, it'll be coming, and the Japanese stuff will be coming. How do you record the engine sound of tanks and airplanes that don't exist anymore? We have to use old footage, and we kind of mimic what it's supposed to sound like compared to new engines that we can record, which is what they've said in the past. And what is the completion form of War Thunder? War Thunder is a continuous product, and we feel like in terms of its completion, whenever we are happy to finish it. But as long as people continue to play it and continue to enjoy it, we will also continue to make it. Like standard PR answers at the end of the day, that everything goes. Now, here we go. So, we talked about like booth babes in like Germany, and we talked about like the hot woman from Russia who used to like the news stuff for Gaijin. Well, there was also a time in Japan where it was decided that you have like the whole like idol culture, which is like from Korea and, other areas of Asia, where you pretty much just have hot young women promote stuff because you like the hot woman, therefore you will like the product. This is also something we do in the West, but it's a little bit more candid. In Japan, it's a lot more in your face. So here is two ladies. They were designed to promote the product. Now, before we get into it, just want to say everything I'm showing is for educational purposes. There is a little bit of slight, sauciness. So just let you know beforehand, okay? So these two women were here to promote War Thunder. And what they did with these women is they actually played a bunch of tournaments during one of the sessions. And the idea was if you could beat these women in the tournament, then they would do something. And it was a competition. You can see you have the guy here who's on the stage. He's obviously showing off the product, playing arcade in a little squadron. And you can see them, on the booth. Unfortunately, it gets shot down. And then, she's playing and she gets shot down. But what is the forfeit for, if you win or if you lose? Well, what they ended up doing is they made it so if the ladies were beaten by the contestants, they would strip. Which is a very foreign concept, by the way. Like that, I feel like if this was like in my area, if this was even like, hey, we should do this, I feel like it would get shot down like immediately. You'd have like riots in the streets when it comes to this stuff. But part of promotion in Japan during this time, and maybe even nowadays, I don't know, was the whole idol worship stuff and also this type of thing. So as you can see, what ended up happening on stage at one of these conventions where they're promoting War Thunder, there was a lady literally stripping because she lost a tournament battle in War Thunder, and this was supposed to promote the product. And guess what? It wasn't just her, it was also the other one who ended up doing it. And so this is Japan. This is how Japan works. A very, very weird thing indeed. And I just wanted to kind of show you, this didn't only happen once, by the way. This was at another convention. This was from 2016. And you can see this is one of the ladies once again, where they're like talking about the product, and she's there with that other dude who was also there. And, you know, they're doing the competition thing again, and then she loses, and then she strips again. So it's literally like just another one of those things which just seems to exist with the law of War Thunder and everything that has kind of happened. So the body pillow tank may be not the weirdest thing that has happened in War Thunder Japan. And I just kind of wanted to let you into this part of the War Thunder lore. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Enjoy your Sunday. Bye-bye.